Riyad Mahrezs has rediscovered his best form since Claude Puel's arrival. Riyad Mahrezs was on target again in Leicester's emphatic 4-1 win over Southampton. Adam Bate looks at how the player has rediscovered his best form under Claude Puel. It is 5 goals and 4 assists for Riyad Mahrezs now. He has already matched his combined total for the whole of last season. But the remarkable thing is that he did not begin this campaign in particularly good form. His opener against Southampton was the first time that he had scored in back-to-back games since Claudio Ranieri was in charge. Watch highlights of Leicester's 4-1 win over Southampton at St Mary's. Watch highlights of Leicester's 4-1 win over Southampton at St Mary's. It is the arrival of Claude Puel that appears to have sparked this dramatic upsurge in form. Mahrezs the magician is back. He has created more chances in each of his last 3 games than in any of his 14 appearances prior to that, and more in total in those 3 matches than he did in the 8 under Puel's predecessor Craig Shakespeare. 4 of his 5 goals have come since Shakespeare's departure in October. So what has Puel done differently? There have been some tactical tweaks. Much of the focus appears to be on getting Mahrezs on the ball in areas where he can be most dangerous, and that was the thinking behind Puel's initial decision to switch the player to a central role. Mahrezs is in a particularly rich vein of form for Leicester so far this December. He is free when he plays just behind Vardy, was the explanation offered when deploying him there against Everton. However, Puel was forced to admit that it was difficult to find him, and Mahrezs was again said to be annoyed by his lack of touches on the ball when used there against West Ham, showing his frustration when substituted in the second half. A solution has been found by restoring Mahrezs to the right but continuing to give him more freedom. At Southampton, only 21% of his touches of the ball came while hugging the left touchline, far less than the 38% in Shakespeare's final game in charge against West Brom, and a fraction of the 58% in the opening day defeat at Arsenal. Mahrez's touch map in the win at Southampton shows that he was free to roam. However, the reasons for Mahrez's improved form are not merely tactical. Puel spoke soon after his arrival of the desire to seduce the player into staying at Leicester. That may prove beyond him given the size of some of the clubs being linked with the Algerian, but at least the daily dialogue that Puel has opened up with Mahrezs is having an impact. Listening is key under Puel, and not just because of his reputation among the media for being the Premier League's quietest coach. Speaking to Laurent Roussy, Puel's former assistant at Lille, that was the recurring message. While Thierry Henry has said of his old teammate in the past that players will get better under him if they are willing to listen. Leicester vs Palace live on. That was a big factor when Puel famously got the mercurial Hatem Ben Arfa's career back on track at Nice, to the point where he was named in France's PFA Team of the Year in 2016. The coach fostered a relationship with the ex-Newcastle player, and he remains a close confidant. They met up for dinner as recently as October, and there is talk of a reunion. Pointedly, Puel praised Ben Arfa for being prepared to listen, so it is encouraging that he has already spoken of his chats with Mahrezs, a fellow French speaker. He has noted that he's a student of the game, something that came across when interviewing Mahrezs last season about how Barcelona's forward players find space with their movements. Leicester vs Man City live on. Whether any of this will convince Mahrezs to stay is unclear. Perhaps his appetite to impress other clubs is the bigger factor in his good form. It is important to help him to have more consistency during the game because he's a valuable player for us, said Puel last month. If he can show this game after game, it will be fantastic for him and for the squad. Quote, That is surely the key point. Leicester have the real Mahrezz back, and there are few things in the Premier League more enjoyable than watching him in full flow. It is almost 2 years to the day since he last netted in 3 consecutive Premier League games. If he scores against Crystal Palace on Sunday, more memories of those magical days will stir. Mahrezz is reborn.